Welcome to the Possibility Action Network podcast. I'm your host, Stephen Middleton, aka Possibility Man. We're committed to bringing you guests who strive to better people's lives and serve as a force for good in the world. Our guest today is Jeannie Burlowski. She is a renowned academic strategist and a leading authority on helping students navigate the complex world of paying for college and professional school. Her expertise is underscored in her book, Launch: How to Get Your Kids Through College Debt Free. Jeannie is also a public speaker and podcast host. She has been featured on media outlets such as the Huffington Post, USA Today, and has appeared on CBS News. Jeannie Burlowski, welcome to the show today.
Oh, who wouldn't love to be on the Possibility Action Network? I can just think of the possibilities. Thanks for having me.
Okay, great. Well, look, I have a lot of things to talk with you about today, but first, a reminder to our listeners and our viewers: follow, like, and share this podcast wherever you find it. Your support matters. It helps us attract guests like Jeannie Burlowski. Jeannie, look, I got a first question right out of the gate. You clearly have a passion about helping kids get through college debt free. Where is this passion coming from?
Oh, yeah, that's it. That is a great question. What we care about is that for students who are ages 12 to 26, that's the demographic kind of age group that we're looking at. We want those kids to get through college or technical school training as debt-free as possible, ready to jump directly into careers that they excel at and love. And the story of how I got involved in this mission is I've spent 25 years as an academic strategist. I help students who are in college apply to law school, medical school, graduate school, business school. And I always have to have a debt discussion with those kids. I have to say, okay, you're 24. How much debt do you have right now if we're looking at the cumulative? And I would have some kids tell me, I have $180,000 in student loan debt right now, and I'm not even all the way through my undergraduate years.
Mm.
And I would say, how did that happen? And they would respond to me and say, well, my teachers or my guidance counselor or my parents, or this one really burns me. A very expensive educational consultant hired by the family for thousands of dollars told me that if I went to the college that wasn't giving me any financial help, that I would have a better chance of getting into medical school. And that is not even true. And I
Wow.
know it's not true because I help students get into top 20 medical schools who went to Joe Blow podunk drinking school. And it's not even
Uh-oh.
hard for me to do that.
Yeah.
So this is where heartbreak really has hit me over 25 years because
Yeah.
I've had to tell kids, you actually can't go to medical school now because by the time you add on all your medical school debt, you could never pay it all off on a doctor's salary. We have to find something else for you to do. Now, I didn't sign up for this so that I could crush people's dreams, but I feel like I'm really keeping them from destruction by saying we have to find something else for you to do. I always say it's one thing to read about student loan debt in the newspaper
Mm.
in kind of a generic way, but when you see the effects of it right in the face of someone sitting in front of you, someone that you care about, and you see that their possibilities are being limited because
Yeah.
of this, it really makes you want to
Yeah.
take action. And my
Yeah.
really good news is what happened with me with the students who told me good news that they didn't have student loan debt. And I'd love to talk about that.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Well, we're going to get into this because for sure there's a high cost of education here. But firstly, let me ask you this second question that's probably on the minds of a lot of people. What is an academic strategist? We hear about strategists all the time,
Yeah.
economic strategists, political strategists, but in fact, you are the first academic strategist I've ever met. So what is that?
That is funny. People will say to me, "What do you do?" And I'll say, "I'm an academic strategist." And
Uh,
then people say, "That is so important." And then the next thing they say is, "What is it that you do?" So I specialize in helping students to clarify the bullseye on the target so they
Mm,
know what they want to do and where they're going. And whether they're 15 or 16 or 18 or 24 or 50 or 60 years old, anybody can use 3 quality career assessments to clarify the bullseye on the target and say, hey, based on my personality type and my interests and my top 5 strengths based on Gallup research, this would be a great career for me. And then once we have determined that bullseye exists, then we plot out the fastest, least expensive way to get there.
yeah,
And
you know,
that's what a
that's
strategist does.
that's fantastic. I mean, I'm glad you said that because what I hear here is that, on the one side, you help kids get through college debt free, but on the other side, you help them clarify what they want to do with their lives once they get into college. I love that.
Yes, what really doesn't work, Stephen, is when people tell kids, "Oh, don't worry if you don't know what you want to do. You'll figure it out when you get there. Just take random college classes to see what you're interested in." That is a
Yeah.
terrible idea. Does
Mhm.
anyone really want to take a $5,000 economics class and then say, "I hated it, therefore
Yeah.
I won't be an economist"? There
Hmm.
are other easier, more straightforward, cheaper ways for us to figure out what people would be really, really excellent at. And that's why the book I wrote, the title, I know it's long. The title is Launch How to Get Your Kids Through College Debt Free and Into Jobs They Love Afterward. Because we're
Yeah.
all about aiming at the goal and getting there in the
Yeah.
fastest, least expensive way.
Yeah, and that's fantastic. I love the book title for sure, especially the primary title, Launch. It's real powerful. Look, you and I are in the United States. I'm not sure how things are like in other countries, but the high cost of education is real, isn't it? This is not, kind of real. This is real.
Yes, this is really a
Mhm.
problem. And there actually are ways for families to figure out how to get college paid for without driving themselves or their kids into debt. But those strategies are hard to figure out. I mean, a person might have to spend 2,500 hours scouring the internet to find out clever
Uh,
ways to get college paid for. And then the parent who does that thinks, are these good ideas? Are they safe? Will they hurt my
yeah.
kid? Would they hurt my kid's future? But an academic strategist like me, who's been there for 25 years helping kids reach the highest levels of career achievement, I'm a
Yeah.
really good person to vet these ideas and say, this over here is a bad idea. We will not
Yeah.
be doing this one. This over here is a fantastic idea. This will not hurt you one single bit.
Yeah, and then students have so many options when it comes to college at the undergraduate level, the graduate and professional level. Here in the U.S., we have proprietary schools, which could be a bad idea. We have private schools. Then of course, we have public schools and other institutions. How does a kid kind of navigate all of that? How to figure out what's the best match for me?
Are you asking me how does a kid figure out what kind of a high school to go to or what kind of a
Well, no,
college to go to?
well, we're talking about college because we're looking at the higher education landscape. There
Yes.
are proprietary schools who are in the business of offering kids the opportunity to get master's, PhDs, but at a very steep cost. And of course, you have the private schools and public schools. And in my mind, because I'm thinking about some students now, Jeannie, who took the route of education at the graduate level at proprietary schools, and they have hefty debts,
Yes.
well over $100,000. So I'm trying to figure out how can these kids try to, determine how do I pick the right school? Is it finances
Oh,
only? Is it degree programs only? How do I do that without incurring a lot of debts? We'll get
oh,
into the nuts and bolts of it in a minute, but I'm just looking at the big picture now.
well, let's talk about how to avoid choosing a school that's going to lead you off a cliff into a pit of student loan debt. One is
Yeah.
we always avoid for-profit schools. The
Mm,
for-profit schools are notorious for making students run up massive amounts of debt. And then often those students are leaving those schools with no skills, no jobs. Sometimes the schools close in the middle of their study, and then the students are left with incomplete degrees. And then parents who are listening to this are going to wonder, how do I figure out if a college is for profit? Well, you go to this website, collegedata.com. Parents are grabbing pens and paper right now to write that down. Collegedata.com. You may have to actually sign in to that with your email address. It's okay. It's completely worth it. And you'll be able to type in the name of any college or university, and you'll be able to see information about that college or university all typed out in a standardized way. And this is so nice. It's so different from going to various websites where information can be in all different kinds of places. Here's where it's all standard. And you can look on there and see if it says that it's for profit. You'll be able to see it right there. And then you can carefully cross that one off your list. So we don't want for profit. Another thing is, we don't want to jump to the conclusion that the state university is going to be a bargain option. And here's why. Some parents say, oh, Jeannie Burlowski, nice to meet you. I don't need you for getting my kid through college debt-free. I already know what I'm going to do. I'm just going to send my kid to the local state university. Done, done, done. No further questions from us. And actually, the state university may not be a bargain option. And here's why. It's because the state universities are so full. They have so many students that students go to try to sign up for the classes they need to graduate, and they can't get in because the classes are full. And the next semester they're full and they're full and they're full. So it's like buying an airplane ticket and then walking down to the gate and then getting bumped from your flight over and over and over and over again. So sometimes students who try to go to state universities for college, they encounter this problem where you're getting bumped over and over. And some of them are taking 6 years to get through college. Well, your financial aid is going to run out at some point. And then sometimes people start putting their college tuition on credit cards. And this is where you really get the massive amounts of student loan debt. But it's not just the tuition payments, it's the lost income and the stunted retirement savings. And it's the frustration. And the worry we have is that lower income students might try to go to state university because it looks cheaper at first glance. It's not really. And then they end up saddled with a whole lot of debt. And they may end up getting discouraged and quitting halfway through. And then they have this lethal combination of a lot of debt, but no completed degree that would help them to get the more well-paying job that they're hoping for. So what I've said so far here is no for-profit universities. Consider staying away from state universities. And by the way, I have an article about this. Anybody can read it and share it with other adults in your family. You just Google my last name, which is Burlowski, and the words state university, and you'll find my article right there. It'll be the first thing that comes back on Google. State university, not a bargain. And you can print that out and talk about it at home.
Well, I'll tell you what, I thought that the state university was a bargain. Woo, you certainly opened my eyes to something for sure. But you also alerted me to, I call them proprietary schools. You said for-profit schools, same thing. But it reminds me that there are some vocational schools that are for-profit as well that can get kids in a lot of trouble.
If it says for profit, when you go to collegedata.com, we do not go there. It's too dangerous and it's too expensive, and there have been too many problems. And I'm a big fan of technical schools. I love it when students use 3 career assessments. They figure out that they would be great at being an X-ray technician or a funeral director or a police officer, and they go to technical school 2 years, they're done, heating and air conditioning, they're out in the real world making $100,000. I love it. But that's not every student. Not every student is made for that. So that's why we want the assessments to figure out who the kids are before they choose a career path.
Yeah, I mean, post-college debt is real. And that's what I wanted to establish here. And I think you've confirmed that for me as well. If parents and students don't plan well. Let me ask you this, though, but parents can also incur a lot of debt because isn't financing college at the graduate level or the undergraduate level, that there are parent loans that they can also get?
Oh, These are really scary. There's
Okay.
such a thing called a Parent Plus loan, and the
Yeah.
financial aid office at the college or university, this is the 4-year undergraduate university, will say to the parent, oh, we put a Parent Plus loan in your loan package. You probably won't qualify for that, so don't even worry about it. But parents need to say, I will not have that in my loan package. You can just take that out right now because we're not doing that. And here's the reason. They will give you a Parent Plus loan, even if you are a poor widow living on $1,000 a month Social
Mm.
Security check. They will give you a Parent Plus loan that obligates you to pay $1,000 a month every month for a very, very, very long time. And
Yeah.
your income isn't even taken into consideration when they hand out these Parent Plus loans. I have a friend who worked as an ombudsman for a student loan company. That's meant people in terrible trouble were coming to her with their problems. And they would say, I didn't know the financial aid office just told me to get this Parent Plus loan. I can't
Yeah.
afford this. I'm getting kicked out of my apartment. I can't buy food. I have an article about this too, Stephen. People can Google
Oh.
my last name, which is Burlowski, and the word Social Security. And you'll find an article I wrote about how people's Social Security checks are being garnished to pay
Mm.
for college,
Yeah.
for college loans for their kids. So we want to use some clever strategies other than Parent Plus loans.
Yeah, I mean, I know parents who got 5,000 here, 10,000 there, educated more than one kid, and ended up with a bill of over $80,000. So you're right. That's something to be wary of. Hey, look here, but you say this. You say that it's possible. I like this because this is the Possibility Action Network.
Right.
This you said that it's possible to go to college with no scholarships, no savings, and no financial aid. How in the world is that possible?
Well, I want you to imagine that there's a large buffet of of possible ideas for getting through college debt free, and nobody does all the ideas. But
Mm.
if you know what the ideas are, you can pick and choose. Oh, this one might work really well. This one might work well. This one might work well. And let me just highlight three. There are
Okay.
far more than just three. But I'm gonna just, for the sake of our discussion here today, here's one. Students in many states can take college classes in high school, and those classes count for college credit and high school credit at the same time. It's like
Mhm.
you need an English class. You could take it at your high school and then retake it when you get to college, or you could just go down the street to the community college near your house and take English there. And the credit you earn counts for high school credit and college credit at the same time. This is commonly called dual enrollment, or sometimes in
Yeah.
some states it's called concurrent enrollment. It is genius. It is
Mm.
a fabulous idea. And the way that parents can figure out whether this is allowed in their particular state is they just Google the parents. I'll speak directly to the parents here. Parents, Google the name of your state along with the words dual enrollment or try concurrent enrollment in there. You'll get
Mm.
straight to your school's Department of Education website and it'll tell you what the rules are for your state. You can print that out and you can go into the school counselor's office, usually in the spring. You want to do this in the spring before the 11th grade year, or if it's too late for that, do it in the spring before the 12th grade year and go in and say, here's what our state says about my child being able to do dual enrollment college credits in high school. We would like to participate in this program. And then sometimes the counseling staff will say, oh, we don't advise that. We worry your kid might get a B in that class and it might hurt them for graduate school someday. Well, I'm not worried about that. I find that kids do really, really well in these classes where there's
Mm.
serious students in the class. People want to be there. The students feel honored to be in a college class. They work hard at it. And so the students who do this, in some cases, some students are able to walk across the stage at their high school graduation with 2 entire years of college done. at state
Wow.
expense. Because when the state sponsors dual enrollment, they pay for everything. They pay for
Mm,
the tuition and the lab fees and any supplies that the student might need. And
mm,
students are excited and energized when they have 2 years of college credit done already and they're 18 years old. I do have to say that AP is not the same thing as dual enrollment. I am
okay.
not a fan of AP for 11th
Okay.
and 12th
All right.
graders.
Let's save AP for a moment. Is it okay with you? Because you just said
Sure.
something that I hadn't really appreciated. And that is that students, juniors and seniors, could actually start taking college courses before they graduate high school. I mean, oh my gosh, that's a strategy, Jeannie, that I didn't think about.
Yes. And I actually have had parents say to me, "Oh, but is it really okay? Is they're nervous? Is that going to hurt my child in any
Uh,
way?" And it really takes someone like me that's an academic strategist to say, someday your kid might want to go to medical school or they might want to go to Harvard Law School, and they're going to come and find me to help them apply there. And when they
yeah.
do, they're going to say, "Mrs. Burlowski, I took college courses in high school. Is that going to
Mm,
hurt me?" And I'm going to say, "No, you are a rock
mm,
star. That's actually something we're going to use in your favor when you're
yeah.
applying to medical school or law school or MD, PhD program. We're going to point out the fact that you were only 18 years old and you had this many college credits
Uh,
already under your belt." It's a fantastic
that's
idea.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That's a wonderful. That's strategy number one. You promised three of them.
Yes.
Strategy number two.
Okay, here's another one. Um, I'm a part of I volunteer as a part of an organization called the Move-In Day Mafia. I don't know if you've ever heard of this, but it's a whole team of volunteers that they take kids who are coming out of homelessness,
Mm,
they're coming out of foster care at right at the senior year of high school, or they're financially dramatically disadvantaged. And when these kids get into HBCUs, this is historically Black colleges and universities,
mm,
and sometimes they don't have the means to outfit their dorm room. Some of them have all their belongings in a garbage bag. And so
mm,
they don't have a bedspread. They don't have posters to put on the walls or a computer or a printer. And this organization has corporate sponsorships, and they go in and they outfit everything about the dorm room for these students. So they have a wastebasket and they have a printer and a computer and pens and everything they need to succeed. Then they send them throughout the year, they send them care packages with extra things that they're going to need. Well, sometimes these people call me and they say, "We got a student here who didn't know anything about following a series of steps for debt-free college. They'd
mm,
never heard of Jeannie Burlowski. We got them here
uh,
at school, and they're about to be kicked out because they don't have their money figured out." And so here's a strategy. What some students do is they go and get a tuition reimbursement job. Now, I'm a big fan of every student working while they're in college. Maybe not the very first semester when you're just getting
mm,
used to everything, but I want students working a job for money, like 20 hours a week. And the
mm,
reason is research shows that students who work for money while they're in college, they get higher grades than students who don't. And I think partly
wow.
it's because they have to keep a calendar, and keeping a calendar is highly correlated with academic success.
Mhm,
So the students who follow me, they go down and get jobs at companies like, I'll just name off a few. There's a lot more than
mm,
this. Wells Fargo, Ann Taylor, Gap, UPS is a big one. They go down and get jobs at a company that includes tuition reimbursement as an employee benefit, even for part-time employees.
ooh,
So they're working, they're getting a paycheck, and then the college said, and then the employer says, "Oh, to help us out with our taxes, we're going to take $5,000 a year and send it straight to your college to help pay your tuition." And kids
mm,
who max this out, that's $20,000 over four
mm,
years. And man, just think, if you work for UPS for 12 for 4 years, at the end, do you think UPS, after investing in you, might be interested to consider hiring you as an
mm,
employee? And a student might say, "Well, I don't really want to wear a brown shirt and carry packages around." But UPS has marketing people. They have whole a whole fleet of airplanes that have to be taken
Yeah.
care of and flown and
Yeah.
maintained, and they have business people in at highest levels. So
Yeah.
it's just a great thing all around, and that's a second strategy. And I
I
love that,
love it. I love it.
especially.
I love it. I love it. I love it because you just opened up another door for me. I look, I'd never considered it before. That's awesome. And we'll talk more about it because you said, in your work that you can show kids as graduates how to get into good jobs after college. You just gave us a clue. We'll dig deeper into that later. I love that strategy. Number two is awesome. I can't wait for strategy number three. What is strategy number three, Jeannie?
Strategy three. And I have to emphasize,
Uh,
these, we're just skimming the surface here. There are many, many, many strategies like this. You just need to access them all in one place, so you don't have to go crazy trying to search for things on the internet and wonder if what you're finding is actually true and real and a good idea. So a third idea is, the really devastating levels of student loan debt, like when people have $200,000 or $300,000. Often it comes from people not having focus or direction early on. So I had an Uber driver one time, and my Uber driver said, "Where are you going today?" I said, "I'm going to the airport. I'm flying to speak at a conference." And he said, "Oh, what do you do?" So I told him, "I'm the author of this book, Launch How to Get Your Kids Through College Debt Free and Into Jobs They Love Afterward." He said, "Oh, I wish I would have known you 5 years ago." And he told me about his daughter who went to an extremely expensive private college because she thought, "Oh, political science sounds fancy. I think I'll do that." Then she got out of this extremely expensive college with $180,000 in debt, and she couldn't get a job in that field. She didn't like it. She wasn't good at it. She didn't know anything about practical application of that in the real world. So she came back to her dad and said, "Dad, I'd like to be a nurse. Would you pay for me to go to college again to be a nurse?"
Mm,
Her dad is an Uber driver. This man
mm,
does not have money to throw around. And when I said, I want kids taking 3 high-quality career assessments early on, I want them to clarify the bullseye on the target before they take aim and
mm,
shoot. So if you had known me when your daughter was in 10th grade, that daughter would have taken 3 career assessments, not the ones offered at the high school. Those are
mm,
notoriously inaccurate. We want the really gold standard, high quality career assessments that are administered and interpreted by a certified professional. I don't do this. I refer out for it, but to me it's absolutely key. And it's key not only for kids getting real jobs and keeping their student loan debt down, but it's also key for the mental health of the students, because
mm.
students who know where they're going, they have a goal. They're able to say, "I want to be a financial advisor and I want to help parents figure out how to move toward the things that matter most in their lives. That's what
Mm.
I want to do. And here's why I'm going to be good at that, because this is my personality type and this is my interests on a graph I can show you. And here's my
Yeah.
top 5 strengths based on Gallup research." The kids have direction and purpose and a reason to get up and go to school in the morning. So those are
Yeah.
just 3. I have a whole lot more in Launch How to Get Your Kids Through College Debt Free and Into Jobs They Love Afterward.
Yeah. I know those are three powerful strategies for sure. And I'm glad you added that because I was going to ask you, are these strategies in your book launch? And you just said, yes, they are.
Yes.
That's
And as a
awesome.
matter of fact,
Yeah.
that strategy about the career assessments, that is
Uh,
in chapter 13. And people
wow.
typically read chapter 13 when their kids are in January of 10th grade. The way the chapters of this book are laid out, it's every chapter corresponds to a kid's current month and year in school. So parents
Yeah.
who follow me just read a reading assignment based on the kid's current month and year in school. And when they get to about January of 10th grade, that's when the book starts talking to the kid about these career assessments. I have some
Hmm.
special training for parents on how to use this. Because we've got some parents here who've got kids who are 12 years old, and
Hmm.
some parents here whose kids are in 12th grade. And everyone uses this book a little bit differently. So
Hmm.
the directions, there's 10-minute video training, which I provide at debtfreecollege.us.
Hmm.
This is my website. You can also find my website by here's going to the QR code that's
Hmm.
behind my shoulder here. And there's
Okay.
10-minute video training based on the age of your kid that just
Yeah.
gets you started very firmly on this path.
That's fantastic. We're going to have all of that in the show notes because parents can find it and go to your website. And look, it seems to me that you're telling us, parents, students, you need to start planning early. So when is a good time to start planning to get this done?
Well, if I have a parent come to me that has a 12-year-old and they say
Mhm.
to me, when do I need to start thinking about debt-free college? When do I need to start planning? Can I just wait until the child is in 11th grade? What
Mhm.
I would say to that parent is if you wait until the child is in 11th grade, 25% well, no, I'm going to back up and say that again. 75% of all the best debt-free college ideas are gone and you can't ever get them back.
Mhm.
You really, really need to start early and just be aware of some things. And so, my message to parents of middle schoolers is just spend 90 minutes with me when your kid's in middle school. That is all. And all I'm asking is just start with 10 free, fast paced 10-minute video training right at jeannieburlowski.com. That is the QR code that takes you there. Or if you're at soccer and you forgot how to spell that, you can just remember this pretty easily. But start where you are right now. Just spend that 10 minutes of video training with me. I'll get you started on here's the 90 minutes I want you to be thinking about right now while your kids are in middle school. And what this does is it sets people on a firm foundation. Now, is there hope for people who are hearing this podcast today and they're saying, I have an 11th grader? What are the possibilities for me? Yes, there is hope, but
Yeah.
don't put this off. Don't think, oh, my kid's too little. They were just in elementary school yesterday. They're still children. You really want to start on this
Yeah.
journey soon so you have every possible advantage for yourself and your kids.
That really landed for me. It's wonderful to start early, 12-year-olds, but if not, start where you are. I
Yes.
like that. That really landed for me. Now, you also talk about, and I found this interesting, money strategies for children, undergraduates in college. And what are some of these help me make that connection with money strategies and going to college. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, wouldn't you just love it if you sent your very responsible son or daughter off to college and they live frugally? And they're
Mm,
very careful about their expenses and they consider how much something is before they just waste money on it. Well,
yeah.
the way to
Mhm.
build a kid like this is to start early, maybe when they're about 14 years old. And I have something I recommend for the parents that follow me. This is in one of the chapters in Launch. People encounter this as they're reading their little chapter based on their kids' current month and year in school. On one of those chapters, I say, consider giving your child an allowance and tell them, I want you to take this allowance money. I'm going to put it in your bank account by automatic bank transfer on the 1st and the 15th of every month. And I want you to take this allowance and I want you to use it to buy all your own clothes and your shoes and pay your football fees and buy your eyeglasses. And I want you to buy all your own school lunches. And I want you to use it for all teenage life expenses. So if you go to
Mm,
church youth group on Wednesday night and everyone's going out to pizza afterward, you're going to take that money and you're going to spend that on pizza for yourself. And the kid immediately thinks, I am rich. I am rich beyond my wildest dreams. My parents have just given me all this money. And why do they think that? Because they have no idea what things cost. They have
mm,
no idea the value of a dollar. And so this great strategy for parents is to just very quietly give your kids only about 65% of what they're actually going to need to cover all these expenses. And then just watch your child become a brilliant, frugal money manager. And they'll come home
mm,
and say, Dad, did you know that there is a store called the Goodwill?
mm.
And they have
Yeah.
all the same clothes I have in my closet, but they're like only $1. And senior citizens days on Friday, I'm bringing grandma in there with me. She's going to show her senior citizens card and get all my clothes for 25% off. That's why I'm buying all my school clothes, Mom. And
Uh-oh.
you are, as a parent, you're leaning up against your granite countertops, just
Yeah.
chortling with joy that you have this
Yeah.
child that knows how to stretch a dollar until it
Mm,
screams. And so parents who do this say, my kids quickly did two things. They became brilliant at budgeting because they hit the wall and realized, I am going to run out of money before the 15th and not have any money for school lunches. And
Mhm.
at that point, parents say, it's okay, sweetie. We got bread, we've got peanut butter, we've got jelly, and we got some brown bags. And you can just take a peanut butter and jelly sandwich every single day for the next 2 weeks. And the parents say it gently and empathetically and kindly. A child can experience the consequences of their overspending actions when they
Yeah.
have empathetic parents that are willing to help, but not too much.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, especially the Goodwill. Heck, I think I'm going to visit a Goodwill this week because I may find some deals in it for myself. Yeah, yeah. So look, what about two stories, two real quick. I just overheard a conversation with a parent who has a daughter that's almost 50. She is finishing up a PhD and public school teacher. And I heard her parents say that this daughter actually has maxed out everything she could get, in terms of loans, and isn't close to graduating with a degree. How do you get well, but you're telling us, look, be frugal, be responsible, because this person was always also saying that the same daughter was, would get the money, they'd take the whole family out for a big, expensive dinner and not pay it for the reason that they got it.
Oh,
So you're telling us to be responsible. That's what I hear you say. Look, be responsible with your dollars.
yes, but there actually is help for people who are there. Maybe they've accumulated massive amounts of very
Yeah.
difficult student loan debt. And I had an interview on a podcast episode with a man from the Richardson Law Offices. And
Oh,
here it is. Okay, here it is. This is it on my
okay.
phone.
And you'll give them the show notes. You'll give it to us for the show notes, right?
I'll give it to
So that
you
I
for
can.
the show notes. So this is a
Okay. All right.
lawyer. He helps students all over the country to navigate their suffocating student loan debt. And
Oh,
he
oh,
is
wow.
very, very up to date on all the different programs there are for getting rid of it or for getting it forgiven or PSLF, which is public service loan forgiveness. He keeps up on this much more than I do. And so
Okay.
he interviewed me on his podcast, and his podcast episode is called Why Graduate with Crushing Student Loan Debt When You Can Do It Debt Free. Get the details in this episode. And in the episode, I
Wow.
really pin Mr. Steven to the wall. And I say,
Uh,
I want you to tell my listeners here what you do. And you can actually take your records from studentaid.gov, where they have all your records of
yeah.
your federal student loans, upload them to his portal, and then he's able to do an analysis on what kind of loans do you have, how old are they, what programs are available for you. And I just love the guy.
Yeah.
And by the way, while we're on this subject, you can only get federal student loans helped. There's help with those. There's some degree of forgiveness.
Mhm.
Any private student loan that you take out a student loan from Wells Fargo or any other private entity, you are stuck
Mhm.
with that, and they will probably hound you to the grave for that money. And
Oh
then if you
my.
die
Oh,
in a car accident or very unfortunately have cancer and pass away, they will come after your parents to get
oh my.
everybody paid. So this is why one of the biggest things we can tell families for possibility is
Mhm.
everybody needs to fill out that FAFSA financial aid form. FAFSA. It's the free
Mhm.
application for federal student aid, and it is what gives you access to every kind of government loan program. If you have to have a loan, those are the only ones you want. And
Mhm.
some people have been told, oh, you're not going to get any student aid anyway. Don't fill that out. That's wrong. We shouldn't
Mhm.
be telling people that. So I have an article I've written, and it's called Why You Should Fill Out the FAFSA Form Even If You're Rich. And even
Wow.
if you're in graduate school, even if you're in medical school, you fill it out every October 1st that there's even a chance you'll have a kid in college or graduate school the following year. And
Yeah.
anyone can find that by Googling my last name, which is Burlowski, and the word rich,
Yeah.
RICH. And
Uh-huh.
to find the Richardson law offices, this I just Googled my last name, which is Burlowski, along with the word Steven, Steven, and got straight to this
Okay.
podcast with the Richardson law
Okay.
office.
Your name. Okay. Very good. I'm glad you said that. Brolowski and Steven, and it'll pull it up. That's awesome.
And we're
That's
also
look. I'm
going to
so
have
glad
it
you're.
in We'll have it in the show notes too. So that's a really,
That's
really good place for your listeners to go click.
That's brilliant, brilliant. I love it. I'm so glad you're doing what you're doing. Overheard another story just recently. I just hear this. I'm not nosy, but I just heard the story of a grandmother who said that she was going to homeschool her grandkids. I mean, do they think about the same tips, or is there something that this homeschooling family need to consider, or homeschooling families all over the country should consider?
Yes, I'm just having tremendous compassion for and admiration for a grandmother who wants to
Mm,
homeschool kids. That's a that's an incredible gift to these students. So yes, I happen to be very, very popular with homeschooling families because
mm,
they know they don't have a guidance counselor. Sometimes
mm,
people who are in public school think, oh, the guidance counselor is going to help my kids with all this. They can't. They only have about 13 minutes a year to spend with each individual student. They can't walk them through this whole process of financing college, applying for it. And so that's why parents find and follow me.
mm.
But for homeschooling families, they follow me in droves and
Yeah,
they all talk to each other.
yeah.
So they say, I know you're worried about paying for college for your kid, or how do we even navigate that as homeschoolers? And so they tell each other, go to debtfreecollege.us,
Yeah,
find
yeah,
Mrs.
yeah.
Burlowski and watch one 10-minute training, and she'll take care of us.
Uh-huh. That's so helpful. I think this is going to help because I'm going to make sure that the parent that I heard talk about this hears about you and heard from you for sure. Hey, you mentioned taking courses in high school for college credits. And then you started to say that's not the same as advanced placement courses, commonly known as AP. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, I'm not a fan of the AP program, except in one instance. When students are in ninth and 10th grade, they're typically too young to be able to take real college classes in high school. And so if they're in ninth or 10th grade, sure, a couple AP classes, that's good. They're a little harder, give you an experience on doing one big difficult test all in one day, build a little academic muscle. Fine.
Right.
But when students are in 11th and 12th grade, I would far, far rather have them in dual enrollment college
Wow.
classes in high school.
Wow.
And why? Why is that? Well, students are told if you take an AP class and you do well on the test at the end, you'll get free college credit. Well, is that really true? What we're
Mm,
finding is that only 48% of students who take an AP class actually end up getting the promised college credit afterwards.
mhm,
The magazine, The Atlantic, the revered magazine, wrote an article that said that AP classes are a scam and AP students are being suckered. Now, I don't go
mhm,
that far. I still think they're okay for ninth and 10th grade. But there's a serious problem with the promise being made to minor children who are
mhm,
making the best decisions they can that they will get free college credit, and it's not happening. I had
mhm.
a student who was with me at my website, getintomedschool.com. I'm helping her apply to medical school. And I said to her, what could tell me about your academic endeavors and kind of what are things besides your GPA that are interesting about you academically? We're going to weave those into the application. She said, well, I was an AP scholar with distinction. I took 13 AP classes and I scored high in all of them. So I got this label, AP scholar with distinction. I said, oh, did you get any college credit for that?
Yeah.
She said, no, not a
Mhm,
one. When I got to college, they said, we want you to take real college classes.
mhm.
And
Yeah.
then she paused a minute and she said, I'm actually really angry because my parents didn't have a lot of money and they paid
Mhm,
$1,300 for me to take all those AP tests. And
mhm.
I didn't get one single free college credit out of it. And so I steer people away from AP. Dual enrollment or concurrent enrollment is far better.
Oh, this really landed for me, and you made me a believer. I wasn't aware of that strategy. What I hear you say was that, AP college courses, it's great, ninth or 10th grade. But if you want to get a jump on college credits, dual enrollments or concurrent enrollments, I love it. You're educating me for sure. Yeah.
So
So,
glad.
Yeah, yeah. So, scholarships, because you're not again, you're big on scholarships, right? This is a part of your strategy. When should a prospective undergraduate student apply for a scholarship?
Well, I got to reel you back a little bit because on the
Okay.
very top of my website, it says, get your kid through college debt free, even if they don't get a single scholarship. And
Oh, ooh,
everywhere I go, I say, I am about debt free college, even if
mhm,
your kid does not apply for a single scholarship, even if they don't get a single scholarship.
mm,
And the reason I'm so firm about that is some people think there's only three ways to get college paid for. They think you
mm,
apply for financial aid from the government, you save up money in advance, or you apply for scholarships. That wasn't even 30 years ago, there were more options than that. This is simply not true. And so I'm about the other easier, more low hanging fruit strategies for getting
mm,
college paid for. But here's what happens. Families will start to follow me and they've got this book launch and they're walking through the steps in the book. You only have to read a chapter like every 3 months as your kids are growing up. So it's real digestible, it's real easy.
mm,
And parents are talking about it at home around the dining room table. Oh, Mrs. Burlowski says it's a good time to job shadow. Let's look at our LinkedIn network and see if we can find
mm,
someone for you to job shadow, since we know you'd like to be a financial advisor for families or whatever it is. And so the students get on board with this and they're like, oh, our family's aiming toward getting me through college debt free. And sometimes
mhm,
parents will, students will come, students ages 12 to 26 will come to a Zoom session that I'm doing live for people all across the country. And students will get excited about getting on board. And when students get excited, then I tell the students, here's how we'll have you apply for some scholarships. And I have a 34-minute video training that teaches students how to write one scholarship application essay and use it over and over again
mm,
to apply for many, many different scholarships. And then I tell the students, here's where you go to find them. And by the way, just ask your parents to find them. If you have a trusted adult, ask your
mm,
trusted adult to find you scholarships to apply for
mm,
using the resources I provide. And then you just fill out the applications. And a lot of students whose families follow me make a commitment. They're going to apply for 10 scholarships every year, starting in eighth grade,
mhm,
going all the way through high school, all the way through college, all the way through graduate school.
mm.
So even though I say I get you through college debt free without scholarships, many students who follow me end up applying for 80 scholarships.
Wow.
And that
All
is,
right.
you can imagine, that's a tremendous help.
Yeah, that's for sure. That's for sure. Now, you also, in fact, the title of your book, it's debt free. You advertise it all in that book. That's a bold promise in your title, by the way. And you teased this earlier, but I want to ask you here. You promise into jobs they love afterwards. Now, can you say more? You teased it earlier, but is there more you can tell us about that?
But why even bother going to college or technical school if it's not to get to the goal of getting a job that you love? And a
Mm,
job you love is a job you're beautifully well suited for because it goes along well with your personality type and your natural interests and your natural strengths and talents and gifts and abilities. That's the kind of job where you love to get up and go to work in the morning and you feel energized about what you do. When it goes along beautifully with who you are, and 80% of who you are overlaps with 80% of what you're doing. That's
mm,
where we help students avoid this terrible situation where they're an introvert and they like lots of peace and quiet and deep thinking, but they accidentally get themselves into a job as a kindergarten teacher. Can you just imagine how bad that would be for an introvert who just likes lots of time for deep quiet? We want that person to have a job that goes along beautifully with who they are so they can use their gifts to love and serve the world well.
mm,
And so I keep coming back to this, I know, but this is just absolutely key. I want every family to have their kids take these 3 career assessments, not the ones offered at the high school, real gold standard career assessments,
mm.
evaluated and interpreted by a certified professional. I don't do this. I get nothing for telling anyone this. I refer
Wow.
out for it. But this is where students as young as 10th grade, age 15 is what we say. Age 15, they're able to land on possible career goal and say,
Mm.
I think I want to be a football coach. I think I want to be a special ed teacher. I think I want to be an electrician that specializes in wiring up skyscrapers. I think this is what I want to do. And once they kind of know what they want to do and they're only in 10th grade, they can then visit colleges that will take them directly to this goal. They can do job shadowing with people who are currently in that career. And then they can say to the person, hey, Mr. Electrician, that I'm job shadowing, could I make myself useful to you? I'll just carry your stuff from place to
Yeah.
place. I'll stand next to you and hand you the red wire or the black wire. I'll just do anything to make myself useful. And before you know it, these kids are accumulating massive amounts of work experience because they're just volunteering to be there helping people that do their job, do the jobs they want to do someday. These are the kids that, man, they go to apply to graduate school someday. They've got so much stuff to write about in their applications.
That's awesome. Ooh, boy. Ooh, academic strategist. You're telling me what that is for sure. Hey, look, there are a couple of surprises. And I wouldn't have expect you to talk about this as an academic strategist. So I'm just going to throw them out there. I saw this around you. One statement was that financial advisors love you. Now, I didn't immediately think but I saw that, unless I got it wrong. Did I get that wrong or did I get it right?
No. Financial advisors absolutely love me. And here's why. Financial advisors will say to their clients, I'm not just here to help you plan for retirement. I'm here to guide you to the things that matter most in your life. And for most of us, that's our kids. It's their education, their careers, their future financial stability. And so financial advisors hand parents a copy of my book and they say, here, walk through the clear, easy steps in this book. Start with watching one 10-minute training video at debtfreecollege.us. This is where everyone starts. And the financial advisors then say, well, I'll be calling you to check in at key points along the way. So the financial advisor knows when Jason gets to be age 15 in about January of 10th grade, because he wrote down, here's Jason's parents are my clients. The financial advisor says to himself, it's my goal to keep this parent set from wasting a lot of money on unnecessary college costs. I want them investing that money, not wasting it. And so the financial advisor will call up the family and say, hey, Jason's 15 right now. How are you doing with the steps on getting those career assessments? How's that going for you? And, no financial advisor wants to be answering questions about college. That's not their area of expertise. So what financial advisors do is they refer people to my tribe. I have a tribe membership where parents pay me a very tiny amount of money per month, and then they get to come to classes with me, typically about 11 times a year. They come to classes with me and they get to ask me questions. They're all Zoom sessions. They are happening all over the country. And so they get to ask me the questions. And so then they're not asking the financial advisor the questions. Or I do have plenty of financial advisors who are in my tribe, so they can learn how to answer the questions. But lots of advisors say, I don't have time to talk to parents about those questions. Go get Jeannie Burlowski's tribe. She'll walk you through the process. And it's easy to find that. I mean, if you're at my website, you can scroll down and it says, here's where you click this button to learn about the tribe.
Yeah, that clarifies it for me. I get it now for sure. Yeah. Get Jeannie Burlowski's book. Go to, put it up again?
Really the most important thing to me is not the people get the book. The most important thing is the free 10-minute video training based on your kid's age. And that's at debtfreecollege.us, or you can just aim your, you can aim your camera right at this QR code and you'll get right there. You can bookmark.
That's fantastic. Yep. Okay. Hey, there was something else that surprised me. I mean, this one really knocked my socks off because you said, hey, debt-free, the benefits of debt-free benefits that involves racial justice, income equity. I lost my socks when I saw that.
Yes.
What do you mean?
Yes. So you saw something where I said, helping people with debt-free college helps us with racial justice and it helps us with
Yeah.
combat income inequity. And yes, because if we can reach lower income families of every
Mm.
color, of every
Yeah.
type, with the hope that you can get your kid through college debt free and into jobs they love afterward without a
Mhm.
lot of time or money spent. And there is guidance on how to do this. Then what
Yeah.
we're doing is we're correcting the injustice that's come about because there is not generational wealth in
Yeah.
some families, and it's for completely unjust reasons.
Yeah.
And here's
Uh-huh.
something so interesting, Stephen. It got back to me. I wrote this book for parents. I thought kids
Mm.
wouldn't really be interested in something so far reaching and visionary. But it got back to me that kids who did not have parents,
Mm.
kids in foster care, kids whose parents weren't involved in their lives, were getting my book and walking through the steps in the book. And they would get to that chapter that says May of eighth grade, and they would read what Mrs. Burlowski says that they should do. And if they didn't
Mhm.
understand part of it, they would find their caring adult. And it
Mhm.
might be a youth pastor or a teacher or a guidance counselor. They would find that person and say, she says I should be doing this. Help me figure out what this word means. And then the
Yeah.
caring adults are participating. So when I'm able to do that for students who are low income or they're in foster care, then we are setting them on a path to be able to step into what they excel at and love and
Yeah.
get a job they love and be debt free and raise families that don't have the same struggles that their
Yeah.
families had. And I am
Yeah.
all about that.
I love it. I mean, that's leveling the playing field for sure. Hey, look, let me ask you, who should buy Launch? Who should purchase your book, Launch?
Well, it's purchased by a few different kinds of people. There is a chapter in there that's called Prior to Seventh Grade. So
Mhm.
there are some parents who purchase this book when their kids are in late elementary school. And now I don't want to scare anyone. If you don't get it till your kid's in 11th because you didn't hear about it, that's
Mhm.
completely okay. But the earlier, the better. And boy, the parents who purchase it prior to seventh grade, they just have so
Mhm.
much more time, so much less pressure. So many of
Mhm.
the ideas are easy for them to implement because they got so much time to do it.
Mhm. Mhm.
It's purchased by parents of kids, typically ages 12 to 18. And
Mhm.
then people who have kids that are ages 12 to 18 will also look at my tribe membership, especially the testimonials there from other parents who
Yeah.
are in it. And why is that? It's because you can read a book that is absolutely clear and you still have questions about your individual situation.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you need an authoritative place to be able to go and get more information and ask your individual questions. And so
Yeah.
it's the combination of this book for parents of kids ages 12 to 18, plus the tribe membership, especially for parents who've got older kids. And then, of
Mhm.
course, got financial advisors buy it all the time. And they are
Mhm.
just they're buying 20 copies in bulk. Get
Yeah.
those straight from me. Don't order those on Amazon. I'll give you a deal if you're a financial advisor. And
Uh-huh.
they're handing them out like candy because they know
Yeah.
parents are going to love me if I'm helping them get their kids through college debt free, and then they've got
Mhm.
more to invest.
Yep. I tell you what, I know what my gift is going to be for holidays and birthdays. You just gave me a great gift idea. Hey, I did check out what some parents have been saying about launch, and I want to read one to you. If that's okay. And I want you to tell me how that makes you feel. You know, Liz and Tim in Minnesota, not going to use last names. They said this. They said, our daughter graduated from an excellent private university at age 20 and went straight to her dream job. Woo, I thought, boy, that's quite a testimony. How did you
Yes.
feel, when you get testimonies like this from people who followed your strategies?
And that particular girl, she went to her dream job at Disney. This is a
Wow.
company that is hard to get into. And she was only 20 years old. So that's
Mm.
what is the fuel for my fire. That's what keeps me going. And
Yeah.
especially, I love the testimonials. I mean, there's all kinds of reviews on Amazon, of course, but I love the testimonials to the tribe membership because that's where
Uh-huh.
parents are really committed and they're really digging in and they're getting all their questions answered.
Yeah.
And those testimonials are what really send me over the moon. Like one mom said,
Yeah.
you saved us $250,000 on
Mm.
college costs
Mm.
because we were going to make this decision until
Uh,
you said, oh, no, 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 make this decision
yeah.
instead. And it made all the difference in the world. And those kids whose parents are in the tribe membership, those kids are confident and they're on fire and they don't have as much anxiety or worry because they're very likely to have clarified a bullseye on the target before
Uh,
they take aim and shoot.
that's wonderful. Hey, Jeannie, now we've talked about a lot today, but I want to ask you this cleanup question. Is there anything else that you want us to know that we haven't talked about today?
Yes, I want parents to know this. I know you're busy, but I do not want you to be overwhelmed. And I don't
Mm.
want you for one single second to think, I can't engage in debt-free college process because it's going to take too much of my time. Your kids' future lives really, really matter. And I
Mm.
have done everything in my power to break this down into tiny, small, manageable bites. And all I want parents to do is just read a chapter every 3 months as their
Uh,
kids are growing up. And I can really explain this to parents, teachers, youth pastors, financial advisors. I can explain this best if I can get people to just watch one free, fast-paced 10-minute training
yeah.
video based on the kid's age. This is where I can really, really lay this out. And part of it is I want to offer you a subscription to my free weekly email newsletter where every week I send out a beautiful article that's really helpful. It keeps debt-free college at the top of your mind as your kids are growing up, and it has your reading assignment right there. So it'll say, hey, this month, here's what month it is. And if you've got an eighth grader, you should be reading these pages right now during this month.
Mm.
And it's like 6 pages. It's not a huge reading
Yeah.
assignment. If you've got
That's
an 11th grader, here's what you should be doing right now. And this
yeah.
is what I do to keep parents on track and make them feel less alone. And everyone, you'll find out about this when you watch that free 10-minute video training at debtfreecollege.us.
That's fantastic. Well, Jeannie, it has been a joy talking with you today. I've learned so much. I'm going to spread the word. So thank you for sitting with me.
Who wouldn't love to be on the Possibility Action Network? You and I are all about possibilities and especially love the possibilities for students ages 12 to 26. We want to just rocket them into their future.
Sounds good. Well, there you have it, folks. You've been listening to the Possibility Action Network podcast. Our guest today has been Jeannie Burlowski. I'm your host, Stephen Middleton. Until next time, good day